All right, here we go. Ready? Start recording. Okay. Let's talk about Starlink, but more importantly, let's talk about what is pushing Starlink to improve and be better. So let me turn the camera around so you can watch this and I can drive safely while we're talking. So today I learned about something that some of you may already know. It's called Project Kuiper. I think I said it right. Kuiper, it starts with a K, and it's from Amazon. So Amazon has been quietly launching a Starlink competitor for several years and has got a lot of stuff already done about it. They've published information about the 3 different types of dishes they have, which we're going to talk about in a second. And they are destined, hey, speaking of Amazon, there's Amazon Prime truck. What a timely thing. And Amazon has done all the tests. They were successful on their first attempt. They have their own basic, they have everything that Starlink has to put satellites into orbit. In fact, it makes a lot more sense now. I understand the competition between Bezos and Elon, and the reason is because they are competing for infrastructure. Bezos has widely been recognized as someone who seeks to own the infrastructure of our world and land. He actually tried to buy the streets at one point. He understands that if you own the infrastructure, you own everything. And he has completely dominated the world of delivering packages and goods to services to everybody all out. Not to mention the delivery of goods and services directly to enterprises, which Amazon spearheaded. In fact, Bezos is credited as having created the term microservices and made them the enterprise standard for architecture, whether you like it or not. So when Amazon enters the ring for competing against Starlink for a low Earth constellation orbit satellite network, you want to pay attention. So Project Kuiper, I think it's, somebody spell it right in the chat for me because I can't remember how to spell it. It's got a really weird spelling. So Kuiper, thank you. So in order for this to get Kuiper, in order for the FCC to approve it, and I watched this in another video. There's another video called, it's got Starlink in the name, which, why would you put Starlink? I mean, it sounds like a great channel, but why would you put Starlink in the name of your YouTube channel and be permanently married to Starlink? I think that's crazy. That's like making your username, Creeper 2000 or something and having it forever be associated with Minecraft. I don't know why people would do that, but they did. Anyway, in that fantastic Project Kuiper is discussed on the Starlink channel, and he goes into extreme detail with really great editing. I encourage you to go check it out. Do the search for yourself and go find it. And a Subaru system has been called Starlink, which makes it impossible to do any kind of searching for how to mount a Starlink on a Subaru. I cannot find anything to show that. So the exciting thing about this is that Project Kuiper, from the very first day, has had a Mini. And their Mini is 7 by 7 inches square. And if you can see, if there's no other reason for you to go watch that other channel, to see the picture of the Mini that Amazon has already been planning since the very beginning, go look at it. Not to mention, they are also planning a Starlink dish, which is a round dish, which is only 10 inches across. It is much, much smaller than the base Starlink model. And they also have an enterprise model, which is about double the size of the high-performance flat dish. But those are the only 3 dishes, those are the only 3 antennae that they are planning on releasing, period. They're not planning on releasing anything else. So that means there is an interesting gap there, because it looks like Amazon doesn't care about the in-motion market. It's almost like they've given up on that particular market, which is why I still plan on getting the flat high-performance built-for-motion Starlink. And Amazon has also publicly stated that they plan to first release everything to the enterprise customers. Enterprise customers are going to have priority for the first year. When is it going to happen? In order for them to qualify for the FCC ruling that says, yes, you can put 34,000 constellation-based satellites up there to fight with the Starlink satellites. They're literally going to be in the same low Earth orbit. In order to do that, they had to have it all done by the end of this year. So that means the reason that the Mini that Elon's Mini is getting released now is because they are directly competing with what Project Kuiper has said it was going to have, no matter what. Yeah. And by the way, all those satellites literally shoot lasers at each other in order to maintain communications with one another. They're already shooting lasers at each other. All they have to do is turn up the intensity of the laser and be like, oh, whoopsie, we accidentally took out your mesh network. Seriously, it's like it was browser wars, and then it was like, you know, internet wars, and now it's going to be literally low Earth satellite constellation orbit wars that are being run by AI. And just, we don't even know about the stuff being deployed by the Chinese and other people that already have low Earth orbits satellite constellation networks. Whoever builds the first low Earth satellite constellation network that beats out all the other ones wins. And so far, Amazon's is better because it's everybody that's now analyzing it is like they've had a lot more time to look at this thing. They've been able to adapt to it. They've been able to see what mistakes, you know, Starlink has made, and so it's really interesting. And here's the kicker: this is the single biggest reason that anybody should care about Amazon's version of this. Amazon has AWS, and Starlink does not have that. Amazon already entirely controls. They're still the number one provider of microservices and, you know, purchasable cloud sourced encrypted sources. They got their own version, their own Alpine version of Linux, their own version of Evergreen Linux that you can, you know, keep updated very easily. It auto updates itself and everything. They've already dominated the infrastructure market, and they've certainly dominated the enterprise infrastructure market. Everybody's trying to play catch up with Amazon. You know, you could argue that Azure and, you know, Google and IBM, they've all been trying to catch up with Amazon with regard to selling infrastructure to enterprises and also to the common person, which came later. So the thing that's interesting about this is that, and this is a point that was brought out by the gentleman on this other YouTube channel, and I just want to make sure I hit it really hard because this is a big deal. So these enterprise Starlink competitors are going to be able to communicate end-to-end, fully encrypted, without the data ever touching a non-private network. Starlink cannot do that. The only way Starlink would ever be able to do that is if Starlink built its own Amazon Web Services, its own hosting services, and Starlink does not have the resources to do that. So Amazon, on the other hand, does have plenty of resources to compete with Starlink and sit there and let Starlink make all of its mistakes and make all of its, you know, learn all of its lessons for it, and then Amazon can say, okay, yeah, let's do that, and then Amazon can deploy. They have there's no lack of talent on the part of Amazon to be able to keep up with Starlink, even though the SpaceX is pretty damn cool and there's great engineers there. I'm not putting them down. The point is that for us, we win because of all the competition that's happening, but enterprises really win. Project Kuiper, yeah. So the enterprises themselves, think about this, right? So you'll now have a satellite linked network that can communicate at gigabit Ethernet speeds, that can communicate at giganet Ethernet speeds, available to any company anywhere on the terrestrial surface of the planet that has visual area of the sky. Just think about how revolutionary that is. This is going to completely change the socioeconomic factors across the globe. And Amazon is particularly focused on enterprises and companies and business. We're going to talk about the implications of business in general and how it gets done and how it gets sourced later and for digital nomads. But this is extremely exciting. If you can tell, I'm super excited by this because this means that for the first time in history, a company can actually have a satellite-based they can have a satellite-based VPN. Think about that for a second. You guys know, like something as simple as DigitalOcean, right? You spin up a couple droplets, a couple servers from DigitalOcean, and, you know, it's great, right? And then you're like, well, damn, I want to do some stuff on the back end. I don't want this stuff to be visible to the front end because, I don't know, Kubernetes, I don't want to expose my entire Kubernetes network or something. So you want to have your own private, you know, network and then put a public face on it that has an interface, like a REST interface or something like that, right? So you would do that kind of thing. And on DigitalOcean, you'd have a private, so basically the virtual private services, being able to run private, safely encrypted, non-exposed, can't get to them hosted servers that can communicate with others of the same system. Now see, this is where things get really, really freaking interesting. Amazon has already been building an on-site point of presence on the you know, kind of like oxide computing has been doing. You get what I'm saying? Do you see where all this is going? For the first time ever, I think I actually see where Bezos is going with this, and it's freaking amazing. Because what he's doing is he's making it so that he can ship a physical point of presence anywhere in the world. Couple that with an enterprise dish that's communicating at gigabit speeds to the home base, and have all of it integrated seamlessly with existing AWS services. And so that everything in the business never touches the public internet, ever. It doesn't touch it. That is a big deal. That is a really big deal. That means that everything is going to be able, they're going to be able to be businesses that run with models that we've never even seen before. Okay, give me a second. There we go. So what I'm trying to say, if you're an enterprise architect and you don't know about Project Kuiper, and you are responsible, if you're a CTO and you're responsible for deploying IT skills all across the globe, things just got extremely interesting. Because now, and I'm going to make two conclusions on this video because we're almost there. I'm going to make two conclusions, two really big conclusions. That if you are an enterprise IT person, or you're somebody who just wants to build a company, and there are intelligent people all over the world, and particularly someplace, I don't know, like Nagios, right? There are places in the world that have tremendous talent, but they have very underpaid, but they have tremendous talent and skill, and these people are now going to be available resources. So think about that for a second. I'm gonna go back here. We'll turn it around. I'll turn off my thing for a second here. So okay. So this is the way things are going, right? And I'll try. I got to stop, or I'm going to overheating here. So businesses are going to be able to emerge that are going to be able to leverage the best talent across the globe, and they're going to be able to communicate and build up their entire IT infrastructure in the cloud and on premises without having to ever have it see the public. Now, cloud computing has already been a thing. It's already the biggest move. My company, my big, huge multinational company that I work for, which you would know by name, please don't say where it is also going to be, you know, impacted by this. They obviously will be, because everything is moving to the cloud and all that. The cloud services are still going to be there, but the idea of being able to connect two terrestrial points of presence through a gigabit Ethernet cloud using Starlink or a Starlink competitor is going to be huge. It's going to be really huge, and that kind of thing is. I just don't have words for how big of a deal that is. That's the first conclusion. This is going to revolutionize. I mean, it really is. This is going. I mean, as much as the internet has revolutionized everything and allowed being a digital nomad to be even a possibility, or to have an entire workforce based in India or Brazil or Italy or wherever, right? Wherever it's cheapest to get a digital workforce. And right now, I would say probably 80% of the resources that supply, IT resources, people that supply all the expertise, they are not in America. They're not in Europe. The ones that are working for the company that I work for now, which is really interesting, given the company. But so that's the first thing. The first thing is that this is going to really seriously impact that. And the obvious one that I should have mentioned is the first one is that Amazon is pushing Starlink hard. The fact that they're going to have, by the end of this year, there's going to be an announcement from Amazon that they have a mini, and they always have. It's always been a part of their original plan, and they're going to end up producing a mini that's better and lower priced than the mini that is already being used, that's been touted by Starlink. So this is fantastic for us. That's probably the biggest thing. The second biggest thing is the ability to run businesses completely in ways that we've never even thought of, that are going to change the business model across the board for the better. It's going to more space trash. Hell yeah, there's going to be more space trash. And the third thing, and this is the one that I care about, is that I'm going to be able to get a Mini from Amazon that's a fraction of the cost of the Mini that's being sold by Mr. Elon Musk and his SpaceX people. So my concerns about whether the Mini is going to be available yet, I don't know if you guys know, but in this storage unit right here, I have a Burley trailer, and I have a perfect place to put a mini Starlink, which is, I looked at the high performance one, I'm realizing my high performance dish is not going to easily fit on my trailer for my bike, but it will. But next year, they're going to be, Amazon's going to be rolling this out first to enterprise, which means we're probably 2 years away from having the Mini, but the SpaceX might be pushed to let us have their Mini first. The bottom line is that Mini is going to allow us to be on our bikes and go bike packing and that's going to be really the way to go. Everybody's going to be doing it. Every IRL streamer is probably already eyeing this. I'm surprised some of them haven't already gotten early access to it, given all the people that they know. But in my case, I don't know anybody, so I'm going to wait. So what does this mean for me? This means that I'm actually very, very happily, I'm very happy with my order of the high performance flat Starlink dish, which is 20 by 21 inches, and that's going to fit on top of my car. It does mean that I'm going to probably seek to have it permanently installed on the car. This is why I'm making a video right now, because I've been going back and forth about, do I want this to be temporary? Do I want to be able to pull it off of the car? Do I want it to be bolted on? How do I want to go about this? Do I want to be able to put this thing on my trailer? And the answer is right now that I just want it to enable use on the car. That's it. That's it. And I can wait. I can wait for another 2 years or whatever it takes to get a Mini, and I'll put the Mini on the trailer, and the Mini will draw a lot less power. It's the kind of thing that I could power completely from solar, and the weight is the Mini weighs 5 pounds. Yeah, the Mini from Amazon weighs 5 pounds. It's 7 by 7 inches. It weighs 5 pounds. It looks like a nice little coffee desk. It looks like a nice little, I don't know, kind of sculpture right next to your laptop when you're working out for it. But can you move with it or not? I don't know. I don't care. Most of the time when I'm doing things, it's probably not going to be in motion, and the places that I go, most of those places are going to be served pretty well by just Verizon or whatever it is for most of the trip. And then those few times when I want to make camp and say, hey, I did this thing, and instead of live streaming it while I'm doing it, I could probably live stream bike trips that are closer to Verizon and range and all that stuff. So that's it. This is a very messy video. I don't make organized videos. The company to clean up the trash. Yeah. there's going to be a lot of trash up there. But as we go through, lower, what do we want? Satellite wars. We'll call it satellite wars. So I think it's really exciting. I think the biggest takeaway for most of the people watching this, particularly if you're an IRL person, is that you should wait for the Mini. Bottom line, I think everybody should wait for the Mini. They're lower price, they're less weight, they're lower power, and they're easier to port around. The only people that are going to want the bigger things are going to be people that are moving, which you could argue most RVers don't even really want that. They just want a really solid connection once they get there. And the residential people. The residential people are going to want to have something very reliable that works no matter what, even when there's clouds and storm, whatever is going to happen there. Those bases are already covered by Starlink, and they're going to also be covered by Project Kuiper, or whatever you say, however you say it. So pay attention to that. Save your money. But again, the takeaway for me is I'm going to invest all in on the high performance flat dish, because as of today, based on what I learned about that project, it is very important that Starlink focus on the in-motion dish, because they have an edge over them. Amazon is focusing on getting the enterprise customers and linking them up with virtual private networks, or not virtual private networks, actual private networks. These aren't virtual private, these are real actual private networks, because they control all the components from one point to the other on infrastructure. These are not virtual private networks, these are real private networks. So they don't have the overhead of a virtual private network, which is going to make, Amazon is definitely just going to destroy the rest of the field when it comes to enterprise deployments of satellite linking and architecture and stuff like that. And that's what they're shooting for. They've said so. So that means Starlink is going to still be pushing for the common man or whatever. And then that means they care more about people that are moving. So Yeah, Bezos already has it. They've already launched it. Amazon has already put stuff into orbit, and they already have their own rocket ships for this. They already have their own terrestrial land stations. They've already tested everything. The only thing they're doing now is they're building out. They're building up the satellites that they've already tested and got to work. Right? So that's what's coming up.